techno music with the SP-404? I thought it was just for lo-fi and boom bap though. Think again. Today's sponsor is DistroKid, and we'll be talking about how it's integrated with Tik Tok later in this video. I think this is an important one because, crazy enough, Tik Tok has become the biggest app on the planet when it comes to collective human activity on the app. So you might want to hear about this one, more on that later. So I did some MK2 sampling and exploring last night, and funny enough, I landed on a techno beat. Oftentimes I'll do like a beat from scratch sort of deal, just showing like the workflow and insight of the MK2. There are 4 elements to this track, and I'll show you the before and after of the samples that I used. There's drums, I just tap these in so you don't need a before and after of this. There's a perk part, this is what I started with. And then after some resampling, I ended up with this. There's like a dissonant techno melodic synth riff. This is what I started with. And in the context of the track, and there's bass. So like I said, everything here is sample based. We are using the MK2. Dropping samples into the MK2 is very simple. You just connect via USB to your computer, and from there you could just drop any sample you want directly into the 404. And so we'll be breaking down all of these elements, and I'll show you how I got from before to after. So things like resampling, effects, master effects, chopping, recording into the pattern sequencer. And we'll start with the simplest part, drums. I always like to start with drums. So I'm currently on bank A. I just have 1 shots on this kit, and this is the pattern that I came up with. I have experience with like drumming and finger drumming, so I just recorded all these parts in at once, but you could of course do one part at a time into the pattern sequencer. And for those who are new to the MK2, I'll give a quick rundown of how to actually record patterns into the sequencer. Hit pattern select, and that's the sequencer. These are all patterns that I've already recorded, right? So if I can just jump from one to the next. And then of course we have a bunch of empty slots as well. So I'll hit record, I'll choose an empty pattern, this one down here. From there I could choose the tempo, the length of the pattern, if I want it to be 4, 8, whatever. We'll go to 2 bars. And strength, I put it at 100%. This is quantized, so if your timing sucks, this will help. From there, hit record. It gives a very short count in. 2, 3. And now it's locked to the grid. So this is how the pattern sequencer works. This is what I did for all of my other parts as well. So let's take a look at the perk part. We'll play the raw sample. This is where I decided to make this sample my own thing. Resampling is stupid easy with the MK2. In fact, there's a resample button right here. Let's click on it. These are the pads in the kit that are taken, and then you have these flashing ones which are empty, ready to be resampled on. Before that though, we're gonna go back and experiment with what effects we wanna add onto this sample. There's 2 bus effects right here. We could jump back and forth really easily. I use the DJ effects looper on this particular sample. So I'm leaving that on bus 1. Let's play that. Nice little triplety thing going on there. And that's essentially exactly what I did on this one. That on top of a lot of compression and 303 vinyl sim. Just for the hell of it, we'll go over to bus 2, we'll add a second effects and then resample it from there. Let's add reverb. And that along with DJ effects looper. Having 2 buses like this on the MK2 is so killer for multiple reasons. I personally think it's the most important addition of the instrument. Thus far, we'll see what else they have in store for us. If the whole bus effects thing is a little bit complicated and just is kind of going over your head, I actually have a video going into detail about that. So the next step is to resample it. So resample, we're gonna go to this pad here. Our effects are on, and I'm resampling this one here. So let's do it. It's been resampled right here. Let's play it. Take the gate off. Notice that the sample does sound quite a bit more compressed. That's because I have a master effects right here. I have 303 vinyl sim, which is compressed. So essentially you're hearing a sample that's been resampled, compressed, and then compressed again with 303 vinyl sim at 69%. And I love that sound, so I'm okay with it. To give you some context, I'll go back to the pattern sequencer and let's listen for that perk part. You hear it? It's like very far back in the mix, but I really like what it's adding. And the after in context with the track. With this one, I resampled using one of my favorite MK2 effects, scatter, as well as reverb. So we'll go back to the original sample. Let's experiment with resampling, starting with scatter effects. Bus 2, I'll add some reverb. I'm happy with that. Let's perform it, resample onto an empty kit because we are running out of pads here. So we're on kit C. Let's go there. Kit E, gotta keep track of this. C, we're resampling this pad. Here we go. From there, shift chop, we're gonna go enter auto mark into 8 divisions. Okay, and now we have 8 chops. Yep, that works. I'll hit enter again, assign to pad. We're gonna choose these bottom 8 pads. Right, so we have our 8 divisions. Working, operation complete, so it's chopped. It's weird because it's already monophonic. Usually you have to go into mute groups and select all of the pads, but it's monophonic. Weird. Cool. All right, we'll head back to the pattern sequencer and rehearse this part. I'll play a part with just drums. Record, make sure we're in rehearse mode, like that. 2, 3. Right, so we could just break things apart a little bit and make it our own. And if we want to record something into that, we just hit record and record it in. I'm not going to do that now. Now we will talk about bass. The execution of the bass in this track was a bit of a letdown because of a limitation with the MK2. We'll go to our bass bank, which I think is D. Yeah. So all I have here is a one shot. I don't have like a fully sampled bass loop, right? So that's what it sounds like. If you want, you could enter into chromatic mode and pluck out a bass thing. The limitation is that when I go into the pattern sequencer, I'll choose a pattern without bass. Cool. Record, we'll go into rehearse mode, make sure that I'm on the bass. I can't enter chromatic mode now, so shift, it doesn't let me. Same goes for resample, so I'll hit resample, shift, chromatic. None of the shift functions work in these two modes. So at this point, I'm not even able to resample different chromatic bass notes. This is a definite limitation, but don't let it discourage you. The MK2 was released, what, like 2 months ago? Since then, they've already come up with an update, and I'm sure they'll come up with more as time goes on. And I'm hoping that this is something that they'll improve with another update. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. So going back to the bass note, it's just one note. What I did is isolator. I really boosted the bass. Cut all the mids. Almost all of them. And I ended up with this. This is super compressed because it's been resampled 3 times with a bunch of compression on it. I admit it might be overcompressed. If we go back to the pattern sequencer, I'll go to the pattern with just drums, record, rehearse mode. This is the bass pattern that I recorded. 2, 3. So limited. Sounds good though. Work with what you got, I guess. This note melodically fits in the pattern. If I wanted to, I could go pitch speed and pitch it up or down. Mixing is a little bit difficult with the MK2, I find, but if anything's out of whack, I could go to that specific pad and then lower the volume. So like, for example, this is the bass that's in the track, pitch speed, there's a volume here. Just to show you, I'll put it to 0, and I'll go to a sequence with bass in it. It's not there. If I go back to that bass note, pitch speed, I'm going to bring this back up to 127. Pattern sequencer, there's the bass. So that's something you could register into the sequence very easily. Let's look again at master effects. On the original track, there's one thing that I added that I think it's just like, it's like the cherry on top. Shift EFX settings, we're gonna go to bus 4. There it is. I'm gonna add, I think it's called Hadu? No, sorry, it's Zanzu. I always get those two mixed up. They kind of sound similar. I'm just gonna ballpark some settings here. 50 time. I'm gonna go to sync on, and I'll sync this to dotted 8s. Let's try that. So that's with nothing. Feedback. So that's very intense. Kind of cool though. Love that. Let's bring that down a little bit. Get nice and subtle. So that's Zanzu. This is one that I add a lot to my master bus, usually bus 4. It just adds that nice ping pong delay. It's not too intrusive, really nice in the high end. Highly recommend this one on your master effects, especially tracks with drums. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, TikTok is the biggest content sharing platform on the planet right now. And there's one way that TikTok completely changed the game for artists. You're able to allow creators to use your music in their own content. And there's actually some artists who have made a full-on career from going viral in trending TikTok videos. So how do you make your music available on TikTok? DistroKid has always been one step ahead of the game with this sort of thing. As soon as you release a song, it becomes available on TikTok as well as Instagram Reels, which, let's be real, is a copy of TikTok. You could even choose which 60-second segment of the track you want to include for other people's content. So if you want it to drop right at the chorus, the bridge, the verse, it's your choice. One of the many, many reasons to join DistroKid, I found out recently that they distribute 1/3 of the world's music. It's nuts. In case you're not already a member, there is a 7% discount linked in the description of this video. So that's it. Hopefully this clarifies or demystifies some things about the MK2 for you. Maybe even just an encouragement to use it for genres outside of lo-fi hip hop and boom bap. Hope that you subscribe. I regularly demo, review, and perform with instruments like the MK2 here on YouTube. Reminder that there are Perfect Circuit affiliate links in the description of this video, so if you're tempted to buy the MK2, use those links. It's one of the best ways to support what I do, and if you use the link, there's no extra charge or anything. I just make a small commission. So if you appreciate the synth machine content, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you again soon.